Hi everyone, welcome back to Clayton's Imaginarium, and we're here today to do another retrospective review of a film that came out in 2006 called Right at Your Door. Before I get into the review, I just want to thank the people who have subscribed to the channel and liked my videos. It really means a lot and really helps the channel. Obviously, we only started this not too long ago, but it really helps grow the channel and I really appreciate it. So if you do enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for all notifications, and put a like on the video. Like I say, it helps with within the YouTube algorithm and helps grow the channel. So but yeah, just wanted to say a big thank you to the people who have already subscribed to the channel, and I hope there'll be many more of you to come. So welcome. If this is your first time viewing my videos on the channel, I do sort of reviews of older films as well as some reactions to trailers. We will have some sort of video game content at some point, but at the moment we're just kind of sort of deciding what sort of content we're going to cover. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the review. So this was, as I say, this was a film that came out back in 2006. I sort of want to take you back to that time period as well, because this was a time, if you remember, where, Afghanistan was in full swing in terms of the war there. You had the Iraq War. You also had the rise of, terrorism as well. There, when this film came out, you'd had sort of, the 9/11 attacks, but then you also had the Madrid train bombings. You also had the sort of the terrorist attack in London. So this was a film really that kind of was, I suppose, holding a mirror up to that, and kind of creating the scenario of like, okay, well, what if this happened? Some form of attack happened in Los Angeles. So the whole premise of this film is essentially about a couple and following the events surrounding them, with where there's multiple sort of dirty bombs that have kind of detonated in Los Angeles. And essentially we follow a guy named Brad, who is played by Rory Cochrane, who at the time was, I would say, was really being pushed as a new star at this point, because this was a pretty decent year for him in terms of project, because he had this film Right at Your Door, and then he also had A Scanner Darkly, which was also a really cool film. So he was hot off the heels of that. And then we also follow him and partly his wife as well, whose name is Lexi in the film, and the character's played by Mary McCormack. This was directed and written by Chris Gorak, who did go on to do another film later on that wasn't as successful, but his background is in production design, and so this was basically his both his writing and directorial debut. This did end up winning awards at Sundance Film Festival, winning the award for excellence in cinematography. But yeah, so essentially we follow, we mainly follow Brad, but his wife does come into the picture later in sort of in parts of the film and then later on. And yeah, essentially, he's an out of work musician. He's just home by himself, and then one morning this event happens, and so you start hearing what's happening from like the news, the radio, and then and it's all kind of like very you're getting little pieces of like what's happening, and then there's moments where he also ventures out but then has to return to the house, and he ends up essentially following the guidelines as to like from the news and I suppose what the government has put out. And but partway through that, his wife comes back or makes it back home, and she was like in the epicenter of like where this event has happened. And so there are elements of like what this does in terms of their relationship, and like they're essentially separated, with essentially with him inside the house and then she's outside, because obviously there's they don't know what sort of what bioweapon this is, like it's a dirty bomb, but they don't actually know what it is. This film is a film that doesn't actually get mentioned a lot, which is surprising to me because, in my opinion, this is a very good thriller. It's also a reaction to events around this sort of time period. Like I mentioned about the rise in terrorism, there's wars going on at this point. And so this really was a reaction and kind of a film of its time. I think if you brought this film out now, not that it wouldn't be, I suppose, received as well, or like it probably wouldn't be looked upon in the way that I'm describing it, in the sense of, because this is like coming out during a time where all this stuff or very similar events to this are fresh in the mind of people worldwide, and more so America as well, but also in Europe and stuff. And so if it came out now, I think it would be something that probably wouldn't make as much of an impact. But I think when this came out at the time, it definitely was a film that people took notice of at the time. Now, obviously, as the years have gone along, like I say, you don't hear many people mention it, but I would actually argue this was, Rory Cochrane is great in this film. The performances are excellent in this film. It feels very real. Dialogue's very kind of like just very natural, It's it is almost shot in a way that feels like you are an additional person that's in the house with the character Brad, and it's very much kind of feels very kind of almost guerrilla style in some ways, in the sense of I don't mean there's shaky cam or anything like that, but more that it's kind of, it feels very kind of almost documentary in some ways. But I highly recommend this film. This was, it's one of those films that I've revisited, and I still feel like it holds up now. And it is, there are parts of it that are quite unsettling. And quite disturbing, and you sort of think, and also it's not really like your average Hollywood film. It's very much, this is kind of a bit more, even though it is like Hollywood as such, it's very much more on the independent side, which I think is why it's able to take a bit more risks and stuff, especially more so with the ending, which obviously I'm not going to ruin here, because for anyone who hasn't watched this film, that's the whole point of this review, is that I am recommending this film to watch. And but yeah, that's just a kind of a breakdown of this film. Highly recommend it, and please, if you do watch this film or you've already seen it, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Did you like it? Did you think it was unsettling, and do you agree with some of my points, or do you think, or was it one of those films that just wasn't for you, because I know that for some people this film probably wouldn't be for them. Apologies if you hear any snoring in the background. I have a companion here who's snoring away on the little sofa there. But yeah, so yeah, that's my review of this. This premiered in Sundance Film Festival, like I say. Did win an award for cinematography, and as I mentioned, cinematography is very much, very documentary style, which heightens the realism of this film. But and yeah, the sort of relationship between him and his wife and how that changes as well over the course of the film. You see it very kind of, they're very much, everything's wonderful at the beginning of the film, but then as the film goes along, that dynamic changes because of these outside events, and that's also something that's really interesting to see. And I think a lot of people could relate to it as well, especially if you're married, and it's something that a lot of people could relate to. If they put themselves in the character Brad, like in his scenario, what would they do? So that's something that I also feel connects excuse me, connects really well in this film. But yeah, if you enjoyed this review, hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. There's many more reviews to come. I really enjoy doing these retrospective reviews and looking back on these older films that maybe have over time been a little bit forgotten, or maybe people have never heard of them. So I really enjoy doing these videos. So yeah, if you like them, subscribe to the channel. And and like I say, let me know what your thoughts in the comments. If you end up getting around to viewing this film, if you've already seen it, it'd be interesting to hear other people's thoughts, especially more so if you're, the good thing about YouTube is people from all around the globe. So it'd be kind of interesting to see people's different perspectives on this film as well. And but yeah, that's it for now. I'll be back for more reviews in the future. But until then, bye guys.